Today we're going to go over resistance and continuity. So what are we talking about when we say resistance? So resistance is basically what is slowing down our voltage. So here's a resistor, for instance. Now I'm lazy. I don't really want to go off of the bands here. So what I'm going to do, can I get the bands right there? Let's see. Alright, so I could use a chart, or I could memorize what each color meant on one of those bands. It's hard for me to see, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my, turn this off here. I'm going to turn my meter to the resistance, which is our ohms. And I'm going to make sure I plug it in the right spot. See the little ohm symbol there. And then all I'm going to do is take my probes. Get one side on this resistor, another side on this leg. So I have it there. I can see what it gives me for resistance, which is 100.1 ohms. You're going to see when you test them, even though that it says, if you go by the bands, they're all supposed to be, 100, but they're kind of all over the place a little bit. So that one's a little lower. Go through them a little bit here. And that's the, oops, put too many together. And that's because they have a tolerance to them. So what I would do is I like to test all my resistors before I put them into a project, just to make sure they say what they're supposed to be. The next thing I'm going to show you is continuity. And we can do that by flipping the switch on this guy to this. It looks like a little sound wave coming off. I'm going to make sure that I have it on the right side here. Now, what this is for is to tell us if everything is in continuity, so if everything is connected, and we can use this to basically troubleshoot our problems. So maybe if we put something together that's not quite perfect, we can figure out why, right? So, for instance, something you should know is when we try and do this test, it won't work on these resistors here. It just won't. So I can try and check it on both sides here. So if I put my probe on this side, and then I bring this up a little bit here, I hit this side here, it won't ring out. But if I go from this point here, from that leg to this leg, I get a little beep. And that's basically so we can follow where everything is connected. And that's just a way that we can use to figure out what's connected. So for instance, let's say I don't know what side is positive. So what I could do is I can just pick one. So let's pick the larger side here. And then I can go down here on this leg. And I'll just grab here. Oh, I was lucky on the first go. So that's basically what I use the continuity tester for. And sometimes you'll have a connection that you think is perfect, and you'll go through and you'll start checking it with your continuity tester, and you're going to find out that it's not correctly hooked up. And I can show you what that might look like on the breadboard, for instance. So this is a typical problem that I see some people have, is they'll miss a leg. So they'll miss like the column here, and then they go to test everything. And of course you can't test through this resistor, so you're going to put it on this leg, then you're going to put it over here. Of course it's not going to connect because the breadboard is on the same column here. So that's the main problem I see with people when they use these. They mix up on the breadboard, and they get all worked up because they don't understand why it's not working. What I would recommend is the first thing you do is just take out your multimeter, put it on continuity, and go through it that way. Go through your whole schematic line by line, check your whole layout, make sure everything's cool. And that's a really good tool to get through a lot of troubleshooting problems with the electrical parts.